Hi, welcome to Foursquare. Hi. How's everyone doing this evening? Everyone got a drink? Feeling good? Like the first Q&A? Well, welcome to Foursquare. My name is Pam Thomas. I am the Chief of Staff to Gary Little, the CEO and President of Foursquare. Today I'm joined by my colleague, Emma Cramer. Emma, introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, everybody. My name is Emma. I'm a manager on our engineering team here at Foursquare.
Okay, great. So we have an action-packed agenda for you. We are going to be talking about top technology trends as we see them as a company. So what we're going to do is kind of tell you about Foursquare. We've been around for the past 14 years, so we'll map out how we have evolved over the last few years, and then we'll be going over our top technology trends, and we will leave some time for Q&A. How does that sound? Good? All right, great. So let's talk a little bit about Foursquare. A show of hands, how many of you are familiar with Foursquare? You're a customer of ours. Okay, I like the hands I'm seeing. So you all know that we are a geolocation technology platform. We've been around since 2009. In a minute, I'll show you how we've evolved over the years and the investments we've made to improve our technology stack. But when you think about enterprises and our customers, what do they use us for? They leverage us to get smart about how people move around the world, right? Our suite of products are powered by deep machine learning and privacy-first insights. I know the last Q&A we talked a lot about privacy. That's actually one of the top trends that we'll be talking about here. So let's talk about how we've evolved as a company. And I know this is 14 years of a company condensed into one slide, so bear with me. I won't bore you with the entire thing, but I'll call out some kind of monumental events that have happened here over the past 14 years, right? So started in 2009. We added, merged with Placed, Factual, and Unfolded, brought them into the Foursquare umbrella to improve our core offering. Some of the exciting things that have come out in the past year. Hex tiles, right? So that's our proprietary data tiling system, right? Conjoining large data sets. We actually just launched Foursquare Graph, our knowledge graph last week. So it's an exciting time to be here. So this is us, and this is what we've kind of been doing over the last 14 years here. All right, so this is a slide. It talks about our customers and the partners and the channel partners that we have. So some of the probably brands that you guys use every day, Uber, Airbnb, TikTok, Snap, all customers of ours, some of the leading brands, Comcast, AT&T, Disney, and then the accessible, the delivery channels that we have. So as you can see, some of the partners that they talked about in the previous Q&A, such as Snowflake, AWS, some of our main largest partners here. All right.
Yeah, so really at the center of everything we do at Foursquare are our two core data sets, our movements and our places. And both of these are built on like lots of complex machine learning algorithms. Our movements engine helps us take all the signals from a phone and say, did this phone stop somewhere? And if it stopped, which of our 120 million plus places did it stop at? And that helps us create 9 billion visits over the course of a month across 500 million unique devices globally. And part and parcel with our movements data is our places data, and that is our understanding of all of the places in the world. And this too is built on lots of complex machine learning models. So we synthesize a bunch of data to try and gather the most accurate representation of all the places in the world. And I think what's interesting is it's not only about a latitude and longitude, which we care about getting right, and the name and a category and everything for a venue. It's also, is this place wheelchair accessible? Does it serve brunch? Like all these very interesting tags about a place. And what makes Foursquare unique is that we get all of this data and we run it through machine learning models, and we actually have human verification in our first-party users. So they go through and they tell us, yes, this, random tidbit about this place is correct or incorrect, and that actually helps us determine which of our sources are the most trustworthy sources. And these two together, go into everything we do. It's what we put through our API, our SDK, our advertising products, all of the things you see on this slide. And I think what's really interesting is when you couple these two together, you get to see very interesting insights about like how people move about the world. You can look into things like where does someone go before and after they go to a Starbucks, and where do people who live in Flatiron spend their time on the weekends? How long do people stay in a grocery store on a given visit? So just lots of really like interesting, useful insights. And now that you all know a bit about Foursquare, I'll pass it to Pam to talk about our top technology trends.
All right, so looking at our top technology trends here. Okay, here they are. We have 4 of them, right? And these are all rooted in helping our customers make better business decisions. So when I think about the top technology trends as we see the world, right, it's all about making sure that I'm able to make accurate, sound, good business decisions and do it at an accelerated pace, right? So when we think about the top technology trends, the first one is data visualizations, right? Advancements in data visualization are really disrupting how companies make decisions, right? They want to make them quick, but they also want those insights to be actionable. Advancing AI with data, right? A lot of AI models are eliminating a lot of the manual tasks, right? So leveraging that to get ahead, accomplishing things in minutes as opposed to days or hours, right? Just like everyone else, privacy forward, right? Businesses are using differential techniques like clean rooms, right? How do you make sure that you still unlock the power of first-party data while protecting the customer, the consumer? And then graph technologies, what Emma is passionate about. Enterprises are investing in new ways to make sure that data relationships, we can make sense of them, right? How do we make sense of the data that we have access to and still acquire meaningful insights and drive innovation? And let's talk about from visualization to visual analysis, right? So what does that actually mean? So when we look at how people consume data, right, it can be very disparate. And how am I able to view large data sets, right, and analyze them so that I can make them actionable for my team? When we look at the world, right, this is a quote from our VP of Engineering. Visualization will evolve from the ability to represent data into an ability to analyze data. Teams will use new collaboration capabilities to create and share visualization to solve problems effectively. When we look at the data, I believe I saw a stat that 3 out of 4 organizations are using like self-managed platforms where people can access data, right? Where people can tap into it. Never been done before. I mean, this stat is pretty wild, right? Human brains process visually 60,000 faster than they do text, processing an image in just 13 milliseconds. Like, wow. Let's talk about the data visualization market and how we see the trend, right? 70% of organizations have a self-service program for data visualization analysis. Within 8 years, by 2031, the global data visualization tools market is projected to reach almost $20 billion. So the data doesn't lie, as they would say. No laughs. No, you guys think I'm corny. All right, let's move on to advancing AI with more data.
Yeah, so probably no surprise that AI is on our list of top tech trends at the moment. But I think what is particularly interesting to us at Foursquare is advancing AI with more data, because we have a lot of data that we like to process. And so I think as lots of companies can adopt tools like OpenAI and ChatGPT, it makes these machine learning algorithms much more accessible to smaller companies or less technical companies, and makes them much more interested in using reliable data to feed into these models. And I think particularly as like engineers and people at companies become a bit more removed from the machine learning models themselves and want to kind of put more of the work on these generative AI tools, like they don't want to be in the process of understanding all the nuances of the data and making sure it's clean and reliable. You can see here, like companies that don't focus on data don't want to have to deal with cleaning and transforming the data. That should be owned by the platform that provides the data. So, especially as you're moving away from being very closely tied to your data, trust in a data provider becomes much more important because, like the slide says, an AI model is only as good as its data. So we're really interested in seeing, how other companies can leverage our data in the ways that they might not have been able to before. Next slide, please. So just to really drill it home, you can see here VC funding has just skyrocketed over the last few years into AI tech, and things are launching all the time. In fact, last week we actually had an internal Foursquare hackathon where the theme was using LLMs and generative AI to build the future of Foursquare. And honestly, it was like very, very impressive, all the things that people managed to build in 2 days and just how much creativity and innovation it spawned. And it just made us very excited to see, what other people will build with our data using these models and just how we can improve our own data and our tooling at Foursquare using them. And Pam, you want to take us to our third trend?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about privacy for a minute. So privacy is on everyone's mind, and they want to make sure that we are compliant with the ever-increasing regulatory environment, right? Foursquare is no exception to that. So when we think about some of the technology that is making sure that we keep up with, maintaining our privacy-forward momentum, we think about 3 things, right? Clean rooms. So if anyone also partners with AWS, right, they offer a clean room that we are partnering with them on. Is the audience pretty much familiar with clean rooms? And okay, so I don't have to go over that. And then when we talk about differential privacy and homomorphic encryption, right? So 3 trends that we're seeing. 48% of data strategy leaders say that not using location intelligence as effectively as they could be because complying with privacy regulations is hard, right? So we will continue to see additional innovation built into making sure that we're all complying from a regulatory environment. Okay, and then this just kind of gives you, this gives you a landscape, This gives you the landscape of the increasing regulation. It breaks it out by a map of the states, right? So as we look at 2023 and the things that have already gone into effect, right? Virginia, California, Colorado, and we see this trend just continuing. I see a few people in the audience taking pictures, so I think this is a good visual because I think we will continue to see regulatory pressures that we will have to stay ahead of. This slide just kind of gives you a sense of what's at the forefront of everyone's mind. So like we said, being privacy forward is at the forefront. When we think about TikTok, when we think about how Americans flunked a test on online privacy, right? It's always in the news. It is relevant. So we just need to make sure that we continue with the momentum and that the technologies that come out are adjacent to the regulatory shift. Okay, and then I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about graph.
Yes, this is something that me and my team have been working on quite a bit lately. But yeah, so graph databases, knowledge graphs are not a particularly new concept, but we're seeing them being adopted across lots of domains at sort of an accelerated rate. If people aren't super familiar, graphs are kind of like a network database, so you can really easily like understand relationships between your data sets and your entities or nodes within your data. And they're often compared to relational databases. And so with relational databases, if you want to join, find insights in large amounts of data, you have to really understand how to combine your data. You have to do lots of joins across your data, which is time-consuming and costly, especially when you have 9 billion rows a month like we do with our visits. And so Graph comes in and lets you kind of uncover these trends and patterns in your data without needing to do these costly joins. You can traverse the graph and gather these insights. And it's much, much quicker. Next slide. Yeah, so we pulled a bunch of headlines of where Graph is being used and that it's projected to reach 6.2 billion, the graph database market. So I think maybe the most common use case people think of graph is like routing problems, but it's also used in recommendation algorithms and social networks and pattern kind of revealing patterns in big data. Next slide, please. So as Pam was saying, last week we announced our graph project, our Foursquare Knowledge Graph, which is a first of its kind geospatial graph. So what we've done is taken those, places and movements data that I was talking about at the beginning of this talk and putting them into a graph and layering in all sorts of other data about like chains and categories and actual, geometric boundaries of different levels of geo. So, what is the geo boundary for this zip code or a neighborhood or a DMA? We've pulled in census data from the US Census Bureau and are continuing to just build out like all of our data sets into this graph. And it's helping us sort of change how people think and how we can deliver insights to our customers. It just speeds up the ability for us to find insights and helps companies leverage location intelligence in new and interesting ways. I think the other thing probably that's interesting here and goes back to a lot of the privacy conversations we've talked about is that this lets us do a lot of aggregate insight analysis. So it takes the analysis away from the phone and moves it into interesting facts about a neighborhood on a higher level, on a higher aggregate anonymized level. All right, and so just to wrap it all up, we're seeing these 4 trends that we talked about in our day-to-day, like every day at Foursquare. We're doubling down on our studio platform product, which lets people visualize location data. And we already use our data to power like very large, interesting, complex AI models, and we're very excited to see what new technologies allow us to do. We are at the forefront of privacy preserving and location intelligence, and we, last but not least, are building this new knowledge graph. So with that, I'll take some time for some Q&A.
Q&A.
All right, very cool. Thank you so much. It was super interesting, and we very much appreciate the hospitality.